Do you remember when Japanese companies made some of the coolest products in the world? Back in the 80s, Japan gave us the Walkman, which made headphones a fashion trend. Nintendo created Super Mario, one of the most recognizable video game characters ever. Sony launched the PlayStation and helped save the gaming industry. Toyota introduced the Prius and made hybrid cars popular. But here's something interesting. Why haven't we seen a new, globally dominant Japanese company since the 1990s? Can you name a Japanese tech giant today that dominates the world, apart from car companies like Toyota or Honda, which themselves were built decades ago? In 1988, 32 out of the world's top 50 companies were Japanese. By 2025, only Toyota remains on that list. So how did Japan go from leading the global economy to becoming almost invisible in the modern tech race? And more importantly, can Japan make a comeback, or has that era ended forever? Let's look at what our research shows, and at the end of this video, you decide. Does Japan still have what it takes to build the next world-changing company? The Golden Age of Japanese Giants. To understand why Japan struggles to create new companies like Sony today, we first need to understand how it created global giants in the past. Think about it. In the 1980s and 1990s, there was no internet, no smartphones, no app stores, and no social media. Selling products globally was much harder. Most Japanese business leaders didn't even speak fluent English. So what was their secret? Let's go back to 1946. Japan had just lost World War II in the most devastating way possible. Over 3 million people were dead. The military was destroyed. But the biggest damage was economic. Japan had focused everything on war production. Factories made weapons instead of consumer goods. When Japan surrendered in 1945, the economy collapsed. No military orders meant no jobs. No jobs meant no income. Japan also relied heavily on imported food and raw materials, but other countries refused to trade with them. By 1946, Japan's economy had shrunk to just 53% of its pre-war size. People survived by eating tree bark and sweet potato leaves. Tokyo's population dropped from 4.5 million to 2.5 million as people fled to rural areas searching for food. But this total destruction became Japan's biggest opportunity. Instead of rebuilding its military, the Japanese government made a bold decision. They would rebuild the country by conquering global markets through exports. They kept part of their old slogan, "Rich Country, Strong Army," and changed it to "Rich Country, Strong Companies." This led to the creation of the Ministry of International Trade and Industry, known as MITI. During Japan's economic miracle, MITI acted like a startup accelerator for entire industries. It supported key sectors like steel, shipbuilding, electronics, and automobiles. It protected Japanese companies from foreign competition and provided them with cheap loans. Instead of using tax money directly, the government created a system that used citizens' savings and pension funds to finance companies like Sony and Toyota at very low interest rates. Japan also imported the world's best technology, but blocked foreign companies from entering the local market. This allowed Japanese firms to gain knowledge without facing competition. If a company was rejected for funding, government officials would help them improve their business plans until they succeeded. By the 1980s, Japanese companies were filing more patents than American firms. But government policy alone wasn't enough. Japan also needed visionary founders. One of them was Akio Morita, the co-founder of Sony. Morita was born in 1921 into a traditional sake brewing family that had existed since 1665. But instead of continuing the family business, he became obsessed with electronics. During World War II, he worked on military technology, where he met Masaru Ibuka, his future business partner. After the war, Morita turned down a safe teaching job to build something new. Sony's early years were full of failure. Their first product, an electric rice cooker, was a disaster. Their first tape recorder sold poorly. But Morita didn't quit. In 1955, Sony released Japan's first transistor radio. A major American company offered to buy 100,000 units, but only if Sony removed its brand name. Morita refused. He believed Sony would one day become a global name. That vision paid off. Sony entered the US market, built strong partnerships, and in 1979 launched the Walkman. By 1983, over 50 million units had been sold worldwide. The Walkman became a global symbol of innovation. But Japan's success wasn't just about founders or government policy, it was also about its workforce. The salaryman system created lifelong loyalty between employees and companies. Workers stayed late, sacrificed personal time, and believed their company would take care of them forever. This system helped Japan grow rapidly. From 1955 to 1975, Japan's economy grew at an average of 10% per year. By 1980, Japan became the world's second largest economy. Everything seemed perfect. So what went wrong? The lost decade. By the late 1980s, Japan dominated global markets. Japanese banks were the largest in the world. Stock prices were soaring. But then came one of the biggest real estate bubbles in history. People with stable jobs invested heavily in property, not to live in it, but to flip it for profit. Companies used land as collateral to borrow more money and buy even more land. Banks handed out massive loans with very little risk assessment. Land prices skyrocketed. Tokyo real estate became more expensive than Manhattan. At its peak, the land under the Imperial Palace was valued higher than the entire state of California. The Bank of Japan panicked. Instead of slowly cooling the market, it sharply raised interest rates and restricted lending. New taxes were introduced at the same time. The bubble burst violently. Stock prices collapsed. Property values crashed. Companies went bankrupt. Banks failed. Sony had to cut 17,000 jobs and shut down factories. Lifetime employment was broken. Trust disappeared. To make things worse, the government kept failing companies alive through loans, creating zombie companies that couldn't innovate or grow. From 1991 to 2001, Japan's economy barely grew. This period became known as the Lost Decade. The Galapagos Trap. Instead of adapting, many Japanese companies became overly cautious. Decision-making slowed, innovation declined, risk-taking was discouraged. While global competitors focused on software and platforms, Japanese firms focused on perfect hardware for local markets. This became known as the Galapagos Syndrome, products designed only for Japan, unable to compete globally. Japan had advanced mobile phones before the iPhone, but they used local standards that never went global. Companies like Sony, Sharp, and Toshiba lost their global leadership positions. Some were acquired by foreign firms, others collapsed due to scandals. By 2010, Japan's global giants were no longer global leaders. The last hope. In 2022, Japan launched a bold 5-year startup plan to create 100 unicorn companies by 2027. Progress has been slow. Japan still struggles with a major issue. Startups focus on the local market first, instead of thinking globally from day one. Japan's large domestic market allows companies to survive without expanding internationally. Another problem is Japan's startup exit culture. Many companies go public too early, focusing on IPOs instead of long-term growth. This limits ambition and risk-taking. The big question remains: can Japan break free from its cautious culture and build truly global companies again? The resources are there, the talent is emerging, but whether Japan can compete with Silicon Valley and China will define its future. If you enjoyed this video and learned something new, subscribe for more deep dive stories like this. Tell us what topic you want next, And as always, stay curious.